You know, I wanted to start this off with a fun little anecdote. You know how you basically live off of Dr. Pepper?
Yes, it is my lifeblood. Without it, I would
Yes.
die.
Every single time I've gone to your house, you've drunk at least 3 or 4 Dr. Peppers. It's kind of insane.
The word is drank, sir.
Drank, sorry.
I am no drunk.
And you get drunk on Dr. Pepper. And so, obviously, I associate Dr. Pepper very strongly with my good friend Xavier here. So, I see Dr. Pepper in the cafeteria once in a while, because, they have sodas there. And every single day, I walk past the drink dispensers, and I don't get the Dr. Pepper.
Alright.
Get it? It's an insult to you. Because Dr. Pepper represents you, and I'm not drinking you all the time.
Are you hitting on me?
No, I'm insulting you! There's a big difference between insulting you and hitting on you.
Well, maybe I'm just old-fashioned, but I feel like there's not really.
What?
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 Whatever, David Weinstein. David Wine and Dinestein. You just got.
Got.
Take that
Totally.
out. That was terrible. Cut that out.
I won't.
Cut all this out.
I don't cut anything out of this once you hit record.
So, sometimes you do, though.
Yeah, only when I deem it necessary, and this time I don't even deem it necessary.
Oh. Okay. Hey, ski masks are probably, like, the goofiest looking thing if you really look at them. They're way too baggy, and they just look kind of silly.
Why do you
It's
say
like a
this?
sock with 3 holes in it.
Why do you say this?
Because I was just looking at this promo art thing for Punisher, and he's wearing a ski mask, and he looks kind of like a goof. It would be much better if he was wearing some kind of balaclava, because then he'd look like a ninja.
Why do you want to look like a ninja?
Because ninjas are threatening.
No, they're not. If there's
So if
anything
you
I've
saw a
learned from
ninja
Pink
coming
Panther,
at
it's
you
that
down a
ninjas
dark
are not
alley.
very scary.
I'm afraid of ninjas, sir. That's my secret fear. I wake up at night going, "Oh God, are there ninjas in my house?" And there aren't. So, thankfully, it's all right.
So what have you been watching and reading lately? I can tell you what I've been watching and reading lately if you haven't been watching or reading anything lately.
I've been watching and reading. Well, I've been reading a lot of Wolverine comics because I decided.
Anyway, more importantly, I've been watching the first 2 Godfather movies this weekend.
Oh, you're one of those intellectuals.
Well, they were watching it in the lobby of my dorm, and they said, "Want to watch it with us?" So why not?
Huh.
Have you seen those movies, the Godfather series?
That's something that I've always kind of wanted to sit down and then put like a ton of time into. Like actually really, really engaged and not just like watch
They're
it.
like easily 3 hours each.
Yeah,
They're
that's
long.
why I want to pay special attention,
Yeah, they're good. There's some good movies there.
Yeah, well, I mean, people talk about them as if they're some of the greatest films of all time.
I don't feel like I'm qualified to say what is or isn't the greatest film of all time, but I can say that they're pretty good, and some of their more memorable moments have become very visually iconic. Like the very last shot of the first film where Michael's wife Kay goes out of the room to get a drink, and then the men go into the room with her husband and close the door on her, and then that sort of symbolism there is really powerful.
Oh, okay. I have no idea what you're talking about because I haven't seen it, but that sounds cool.
Plus, there's also the scene where they juxtapose the christening of and baptism of Michael's son, with him killing all of his rivals.
That sounds like a cool sequence.
It is.
I've only seen, like, of all those big crime movies that everyone refers to as some of the best out there, I've only seen Casino with a lot of the same actors in it, and I enjoyed that.
I haven't seen Casino. I haven't seen a lot of gangster movies. I haven't seen The Untouchables. I haven't seen Scarface. I haven't
There's
seen pretty much anyone.
Where the bad guy from Home Alone puts a guy's head in a vice and starts cranking it to interrogate him. And then
Which
when he
one's
says
that?
the guy's name, he goes, "That's who you're hiding! I wrapped your head in a fucking vice because you were hiding that guy!" It was great.
Which is
Pop
that?
your eyes out of your head.
Which is that one?
It was Casino.
Casino Royale?
Yeah, it was Casino Royale, where,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, the Godfather series, I think what makes it more interesting than the average gangster flick is that it's got all the gangster stuff, like Tommy guns and people in suits with black hats and all that. But more than that, it's also like a deep a character study of this main guy played by Al Pacino, and how at first he's an innocent and he's kind of on the outside of his family, but he's slowly drawn into this world of crime, and then by the end he's just become this ruthless crime boss. And then in the sequel they do a lot of interesting character work in sort of examining what that means and what kind of a person he's become, and also they juxtapose that with the way his father started this whole thing in the first place, and sort of make it more of a character study than just a gangster flick. And that's what I think really makes the Godfather series so good, is that it analyzes how these people got to the places where they are, and that gets pretty fascinating.
that sounds to me like some of the stuff that I really like about Breaking Bad, is that it's this just, like, really in-depth character study. Not so much like the actual, like, gang member stuff, like, you know, just run around shooting each other, saying all kinds of cuss words and selling drugs. It's like that. It's more of like a setting than it is like the actual plot, you know?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So
Yeah.
so I could probably get into that. That sounds cool. But like I said, that's one of those movie series I want to set aside a whole day to really just sit down and watch and appreciate.
We could do a
like
couch
for
potatoes
example,
of it sometime.
yesterday I think it was yesterday, I watched The Exorcist for the first time, and it kind of surprises me that it took me that long to watch that. But I wanted to track down I wanted to track down a copy of the extended cut, because apparently that one had a little bit more stuff with the characters and less about the actual the function of the exorcism itself. And I really enjoyed that. In fact, I got so into it that I was like, hey, I'm gonna start watching that TV show that started last year too. And so far that's not bad either. I think it's actually kind of an interesting follow-up.
Nice. Gotta be better than The Exorcist 2, though.
Oh yeah, that movie where nothing happens and James Earl Jones screeches like a lion.
And they have light bulbs.
And Reagan McNeil sits around in like an office the whole time and does nothing.
Yeah.
And then the Exorcist series is this giant, weird, confusing mess because they tried to make a sequel and they tried to make a prequel about the priest from the first one. They tried to do that in 2001. So they filmed the entire movie, and then the studio just decided they didn't want it and they didn't like it. So they made them start over from scratch and do the exact same movie over with only the main character is the same cast member. Like, they recast everyone. And then did a completely different movie and then released them maybe a year apart, both with different titles. And it's apparently there's some stuff in them that's near identical and other stuff that's just completely and totally different, and neither of them are good. So it's almost like it's probably pretty surreal watching those, because it's like watching the same movie twice in a row. It's probably like watching Evil Dead 1 versus Evil Dead 2, just because it's like It's the same movie, but or same general premise, but totally different. And the only thing you're keeping is the main actor.
Speaking of that sort of thing, I really hope that when Sony releases that they got their Oscar bait movie, All the Money in the World, about the Getty kidnappings, if when they release that on DVD, I want to see the cut versions of the scenes with Kevin Spacey in them. Because that's going to be a really interesting scenario artistically, because you know what's happening, right?
Yeah, I saw where
they're going to replace Christopher Plummer with Kevin Spacey in this movie. No, other way around.
Yeah.
And turns out Christopher Plummer was what Ridley Scott originally wanted as the guy, but scheduling conflicts happened, and then he got Spacey instead, and now he's getting Plummer instead, and they're going to cost the studio $10 million. But I think it's a really interesting scenario artistically, because we get to see, if they ever release the Spacey footage, we get to see two different versions of the same performance, or two different performances on the same character in the same movie.
Yeah.
Same director, even. So they're both what the director wanted, but they're both going to be very different, because Spacey and Plummer are very different actors.
I remember seeing someone on Twitter saying that they felt bad for whoever did the old man makeup for Kevin Spacey, because they probably felt that they did a really fantastic job, and now it's just like, nah, we'll just cast an actual old man. So that was kind of like pointless. It is interesting. Like I do think it's kind of ballsy to try and go for this release date, considering it's only
only 10 days of filming.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's about as much as Spacey did. They said he was there for like 2 weeks, so...
Yeah, he was 10 days, which is 2 business weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that it's a big, lavish period piece from the 70s, so they have to recreate all of that. And even stuff you see in the trailer is shooting on location in, like, the desert. So...
they did say that, thankfully, a lot of the shots with him in them are mostly just him by himself. Like, there's not a lot of scenes with other actors directly in frame with him. More so him kind of like sectioned off, interacting with them at a distance.
Yeah, well, that's what I think is the idea of his character in the movie, is that he's not in the movie all that much, but it's like he's the presence looming over everything.
Yeah. Like, he's not necessarily, like, on the same plane of reality as everyone else. He's kind of in this higher place because of his wealth. Like, he's sort of staring down at them from his ivory tower. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, like, a little ambitious, but I don't think it's impossible. I really think, especially Ridley Scott, he's been directing movies since
the 70s.
Yeah, for forever. He knows how to film some stuff on a time crunch.
Yeah. He's
so
very. He's very good at shooting under a time crunch. He's known for that, even though he's practically 80. Even though he's over 80 years old now.
I'm really happy that he's still working. At least, like, I know everyone's like really really mean and shitty to him just because they didn't like Alien, whatever.
I think that I'm perfectly happy for Ridley Scott to keep working. I just wish he'd keep working on new stuff instead of just revisiting his older works and making them worse.
Well, that's why you could be thankful about, like, him doing stuff like The Martian or
this movie or
this movie or
he's also signed on to do a World War II movie, I think. Like
I don't know
about the Battle of Britain.
World War II movies, but at the very least, he's doing something he's interested in.
At least it's not a Steven Spielberg World War II movie or a Christopher Nolan World War II movie.
Yeah. Or a David Ayer World War II movie.
My brother loved that.
I remember Punisher was in it.
Mm-hmm. And not quite so future Spider-Man, Logan Lerman.
Oh, that guy's career is doing great right now. He was in that assassin movie about the dude who's an assassin.
No, you're confusing them. Logan Lerman is in the Percy Jackson movies. who you're thinking of is Dylan O'Brien.
Oh my god. Really?
Yeah, they're so different. I mean,
am I a racist?
Yeah, you're racist against white people.
Damn it. I thought they were the same guy.
They're not.
Oh no. Oh, but were any of them in The Social Network?
I have no idea. I've never seen The Social Network.
Weird clone people. Hold on, I have to sneeze.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I wanted to say that it's really nice that we're going to get
Bless
three...
you, Xavier.
Since I talk so much about negative things, I want to talk about some movies that I'm excited about. How about that? You ready for this?
Yeah.
I'm excited for something called Early Man. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Look it up.
This sounds like some kind of dumb romantic comedy where Vince Vaughn finds out that he just can't have an orgasm after more than 10 seconds.
No. You are completely wrong. Are you going to actually look it up, or do you want me to tell you what it's about?
I'm looking it up right now. Oh, jeez. Now I see why you're excited.
Why?
Because it's in a certain art style. A certain Aardman art style.
Aardman? Yeah. In case you don't know, Early Man is going to come out this February, and it is animated by Aardman Animations. You know, the guys behind Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, Chicken Run, amongst others. And it's going to be the first movie in a while directed by a Wallace and Gromit creator, Nick Park. And of course, it's about a caveman whose tribe is threatened by the approach of the Bronze Age and a Bronze Age civilization. And in order to defend themselves, they play a game of soccer, or as the Brits call it, football.
Football?
Yeah.
That's not what it's called. Don't lie to me.
The Brits call it football, and everybody...
they call it foosball. That's why that board game tabletop thing is called that.
Everybody except for the United States calls it football.
We also have a different measurement system, and we also have
Yeah, America sucks. The imperial system is awful.
We're the non-conformist weirdo hipster country that refuses to use the same terms as everyone else.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, think about it. There's the gram, there's a kilogram, there's a milligram.
And then there's a billogram.
The metric system makes sense.
Because it works in tens.
It works in tens. That's easy, but can you how many ounces are there in a pound, and how many?
12, I think.
12 or 16, I don't know. And then it's like, there's 12 inches in a foot, and then there's 3 feet in a yard, and then there's 50 to 80, or no, not that. Somewhere around there. How many? Yeah, 50 to 80 feet in a mile. But I don't know how many yards there are in a mile because nobody remembers that, and it's just so annoying and stupid.
Then you have to convert feet to yards, and then yeah.
It's so dumb. We're dumb. America is dumb. You heard it here first, folks.
We should burn it all down.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Don't actually do that.
Let's burn America down.
Just set a single fire and just see what happens.
Yep. Also, I'm excited because Aardman is making stop-motion animated movies again. And it's not the only one, because there's also Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs, which is another stop-motion movie. And Wes Anderson also made Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I did like. And there's also supposed to be a Leica movie, supposed to be released in March of 2018.
Huh.
So there's going to be at least 3 stop-motion animated movies in the first half of 2018.
And that's
Yay!
your favorite animation style.
Can I say how much I love stop motion animation compared to like computer animation and hand drawn?
It looks similar, but takes like infinitely more work.
It takes a lot more work, but also it looks better, I think.
Fair.
What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like people don't give 3D artists a lot of credit because one of my very good friends is an animator, and the amount of time it takes to sculpt the character model and then rig it and then properly light it and then make sure all the textures on it are functional, and just like all the time it takes to give like fluid animation if you're not mocapping it. Animators have a pretty rough deal, but everyone has this assumption that animation, like in a computer, is dirt easy and takes like 5 minutes when it really doesn't.
Well, it's a lot quicker than a stop motion or a hand drawn, for that matter.
Especially
on the
where
professional level, but
in.
Also on the amateur level, computer animation, no matter how hard it is way easier than any other form of animation, and it takes a lot less time to make.
But it's still not easy on its own. Like if those other, like if you don't compare it, it's still difficult.
But I'm not saying that it shouldn't. I'm not questioning how difficult it is. And to be honest, I don't care. I'm saying that I prefer stop motion animation as an art form because I like the tactility of stop motion animation.
Well, yeah, you're looking at real things on the screen.
I also think that there's a really great potential that I think that hasn't really been fully exploited yet for mixing stop motion and computer animation. Like, if you haven't seen Kubo, I highly recommend you see Kubo and the Two Strings, another Leica animated film that nobody cared about. I mean, the story's kind of iffy and a little bit just generic, but boy does it look absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a mixture of stop motion puppets.
What was your opinion on
animation.
Paranorman?
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. I thought that one was kind of underwhelming. I was excited for something more. By the way, I just went into the Discord and told everyone I was recording the podcast, and everyone's telling me to say hi to you.
What?
Everyone in the Discord server is telling me to say hi.
Hi.
So hi. And can you give my friend Scrubs Animate a shout out?
No.
Oh, well, he says that if, and this is a direct quote, if he says no, then you have my permission to strangle him.
Well,
it's going to be hard at the distance we're at, but I could try.
If you can drive 1,000 miles out to where I am, then you're more than welcome to strangle me.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I kind of earned it. It's a long drive.
You want to talk about? There's another thing that I want to talk about quickly that I don't think anybody's really talked about. I want to talk about that whole news about Fox and Disney, because a lot of the coverage of the proposed deal that so far hasn't actually gone through between 21st Century Fox and Disney that has been very much about, oh, look, the X-Men might come back with the rest of the Marvel characters, and I don't think we need to talk about... I think people haven't really examined what the real consequences of it would be, and I think that's something that we can talk about here. You on board for that?
Sure. I talked about the X-Men angle pretty extensively yesterday on a different podcast, which will probably be uploaded by Wednesday this week. You can go check that out. Had a great time talking with those guys. It was called Shoot the Breeze. Yeah, we talked a lot there about just how that may or may not affect the way the art is in terms of the X-Men movies. Like,
before we continue,
Marvel fully acquires those characters, they'll just kind of make them MCU and make it boring. But if it's just like a shared deal like Sony.
Well, here's the thing. That's not the way it was, because the proposed deal was that Disney would buy 21st Century Fox's cable assets in addition to their motion picture division, so they'd buy Fox Studios as well as FX Productions. So 21st Century Fox would be left with their core like news broadcasting business, and then they'd jettison their more media entertainment assets. And basically, for Disney, this is an intellectual property thing, because as you know, they're ramping up for their own streaming service they want to launch in competition with Netflix. And they're going to have a Star Wars exclusive TV show to that network, much like Star Trek has with CBS All Access. So it's very much about this is Disney's strategy to compete in the digital age, is intellectual property. And if they acquired 21st Century Fox, then they'd have stuff like Alien, X-Men, Planet of the Apes, all of these sort of like more adult skewing franchises. And ignoring the whole antitrust issues, which I think you shouldn't, but that's not a discussion we can really have here. And let's just say that having a entertainment giant that Disney and 20th Century Fox would create is a hugely bad thing for competition in the media landscape, and we don't want that, but let's breeze over that. Basically, it would be a bad idea creatively as well, because because the only reason that 20th Century Fox, or they wouldn't exist under Disney like New Line Cinema exists within Warner Brothers as its own separate little division that does whatever it wants. It wouldn't do that. They'd integrate all of their brands into their established network. Also, incidentally, this would also reunite Star Wars under one brand, because 20th Century Fox was the company that released Star Wars: A New Hope in theaters, and they still own the copyright to that.
So aren't they the ones that are kind of holding back on putting out the original cuts of the first 3 movies?
Well, they only own the first movie. Lucasfilm owned the second 2, so they only have the first movie.
Huh. Bizarre. And I remember also, I think George Lucas's ex-wife has a certain chunk of the film rights.
Mm-hmm.
No idea how to get around that. I mean,
so
you could just throw $1 billion at her; she'll probably be down.
So I think that the whole renaissance we're enjoying right now with these R-rated superhero movies we're getting out of 20th Century Fox, that would end under Disney.
Oh, absolutely. They have stated it 100% that they will not have any R-rated movies.
No more Deadpool, no more Logan, no more New Mutants, none of that.
Well, I'm also worried. What if they acquired a lot more than just X-Men? What's the next Alien movie gonna be like? Because they're gonna make another one inevitably.
They're gonna have everything that's under 20th Century Fox's brand. Oh. So they'd have Avatar. They'd have.
So would all the Alien movies be PG-13 from this point forward?
If there are any more.
There will be.
So maybe they just release it under the 20th Century Fox brand or something.
They might be able to do that with certain comic book movies. I mean, you still got to remember that Sony is out there right now doing this whole shared deal with Spider-Man character rights.
Well, here's the thing.
And they're putting out their R-rated Venom movie next year.
The only reason that Marvel has agreed to have their shared universe with Sony is that Sony owns the rights permanently. And Sony Corporation, the parent company of Sony, has said, we're not selling. We're keeping it. So that's going to be a permanent thing. So if Kevin Feige wanted to have that, then they had to keep it. They had to work with Sony and Amy Pascal. They had to do that. That was the only way it was going to work. But if they acquire the 20th Century Fox and they own that company, then they can do whatever they want with it. They don't have to work with 20th Century Fox as a partner deal. They can do whatever they want with it. They own that.
Yeah.
So like these are the so Avatar, Titanic, Star Wars, original one, Deadpool, Independence Day, Home Alone, The Martian, all those movies that 20th Century Fox has made would be owned by the mouse.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that it seems like Disney is at the point now where it knows it can kind of do no wrong in terms of making cash. So they're just kind of bullying people into doing stuff now. You know, like, hey, we're going to buy your company and we're going to throw so much zeros on that. We're going to throw so many zeros on that check that you will, like, be unable to say no. Or, hey, we're going to just, start making all the Marvel TV shows on our own streaming service. And, you can't have any new ones on your thing, Netflix, bye. It's just so scummy and kind of evil.
And that's why I'm saying that this would be a terrible deal, is that Disney has to compete with other companies on multiple levels. And that pushes them to do new, more interesting things. And if that competition level is reduced more than it already is, because basically there's only like they only have like 5 or 6 competitors, so that's not a very big realm of competition. If they have one less, then they don't need to can't compete for your dollar like they do right now.
Okay, that's a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm worried about the X-Men rights because the reason that I think they're okay to stay with Fox is that Fox is unlike Marvel, because Marvel tries to apply a formula.
Mm-hmm.
Fox is very willing to
Fox is very loose. They don't have a strict hierarchy over who owns the rights. So it's just a bunch of people saying, like, hey, why don't we try this idea? Or, hey, why don't we try this idea?
Individual directors are allowed to try new stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Under the Marvel banner, you won't get stuff like
you won't get
Mutants or...
sure, you won't get Fanforstic, but you also won't get Logan.
Do you think they'd cancel Legion? Oh, God.
I don't know. That's up in the air.
I think no one ever in the history of the universe would be mad if they got the Fantastic Four rights. I think that's fine. Just leave the X-Men and DP alone. Just leave them alone.
Yep. Deadpool would not exist pretty much in any form that people want under Disney. And that's something we need to remember when you get those clickbait headlines like, oh, could Deadpool and X-Men join Spider-Man and Captain America in the MCU? Well, they could, but not in the form that you want them to.
Yes. So, and then people do try to argue in favor of it, going like, hey, Hugh Jackman said he would do more movies as Wolverine if he got to hang out with the Avengers. And it's like, but that would kind of ruin the impact of Logan. That movie was like such a beautiful, poetic
send-off. We don't need any more Hugh Jackman and Wolverine movies.
I wouldn't be opposed to getting another actor to play Wolverine eventually down the line.
That's what I'm saying. We don't need another Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie. We gave him a perfect send-off. And to bring him back again would be to ruin the whole thing.
He was Wolverine for like 18 years. Just give the guy a break.
Yep.
I think of all people cast as comic book characters, is he the one who got to keep his role the longest and appear
one of the longest, certainly.
Appear in the most movies as that character?
I mean, currently, I would say that Robert Downey Jr. has probably been in at least as many movies, but not as long. I mean, he started in 2007. It's only been about... So it's been 10
2008.
years. It's been basically 10 years now.
Close.
He's been in Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Avengers 2, Captain America Civil War, and Spider-Man. So that's 7.
Fair.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's fair. But
And then Hugh Jackman was in X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, Wolverine, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. So that
had a cameo.
He wasn't in Apocalypse.
No, he was in Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, I'll count that.
He had like a whole scene. He killed like 15 rooms.
So let's count that again. X-Men 1, 2, 3, Origins, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse,
He also had that
and
very,
Logan.
very brief cameo in
I'm not counting First Class because he just said, just was it fuck off or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not counting that. So he's
Charles
been in
Xavier,
as
and
many
this is my
movies.
cohort, Eric Lyncher. Go fuck yourself.
He's had exactly as many movies as Robert Downey Jr. has. Not counting...
Wait, did you count all 3 of the Wolverine movies?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, but then
There
again...
was the Japan one. I'm just
okay,
kidding,
so Wolverine... So, wait.
It's a joke.
No, there's... Oh, yeah, so he's been in one more. But then again, there's also the Avengers sequels coming up,
Just kidding,
so...
it was in South Korea.
So,
Man, Wolverine is such a weeaboo.
So, Robert Downey Jr. is about to leapfrog him in a couple of years.
Remember that time Wolverine spent all that time in India?
You know, it's interesting, because we're talking about this Disney Fox thing. There's also the other big entertainment merger that nobody's really talking about, which is Time Warner and AT&T.
Which is kind of being, Wait, hold on. Would that mean if they were to merge that their new title would be TW AT&T?
Well, I don't think that would work because it's not a merger, it's an acquisition. So AT&T is buying Time Warner. So Time Warner would exist as a subsequent, as a subsidiary
plot. Do you get it?
of AT&T.
It was doing a thing. I was doing a bit.
It wasn't funny, so I don't care.
Someone out there will find it funny.
Totally.
Anyway.
So that's being held up by the Justice Department right now over, again, antitrust concerns, which I think are completely legitimate. I mean, there's the antitrust concerns, and then there's just
I think we're getting to the point where it's going to be a two-party system. Either you're making movies for Disney or you're making movies for Warner Brothers. Who do you worship? King Bugs Bunny or Emperor Mickey Mouse?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's going. I mean, we're kind of already there, but you kind of got the outliers, like the Image Comics of movie studios.
Let's see. There's
Universal.
Sony. There's Lionsgate. There's Universal. Universal's actually, I would say, a bigger competitor to Disney than Warner Brothers is at this point.
Fair.
And then there's also there's Paramount, but Paramount doesn't count because the highest debut they've had this year is $44 million.
Really?
Yep, that's the highest debut they've had this whole year. And then, of course,
are you
Fox.
excited for the Monster Universe to take off? Universal's doing a great job with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've also got the Fast and the Furious movies. So, And they've got Illumination Entertainment and DreamWorks Animation. So they've even got the thing that Disney does where they have two separate animation studios making movies at the same time.
Yeah.
And they've got DreamWorks and Illumination, and Disney's got Pixar and Disney.
Because then you get like Pixar movies like Incredibles, but then you also get stuff like Frozen or
Big Hero
Tangled
6.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So they've got
it
that. It
looks vaguely like a Pixar movie, but it's not.
Yeah. So they've got that going on.
Are you excited for Incredibles 2?
I'll watch it. I'm not a huge fan of the first movie, but I did enjoy it.
It was good.
I mean, I'm not one of those Disney fans who be like, Disney/Pixar fans who are like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this movie or this movie. It's like, calm down. They're just kids' movies. You don't need to be that annoying about it. Or that obsessive into it. I mean, granted, I am obsessive about other things, but there are certain things where I'm just like,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
You don't have to be like a crazy Inuit zealot and love it to death.
Disney fans are weird.
I do think everyone was right to be really freaked out when you said you've never seen Toy Story.
I've never seen Toy Story, and I don't plan to.
Toy Story is hilarious because that movie very often pushes the border of what's okay to be in a kid's movie. Just because it just has such a weird, dark sense of humor. There's characters attempting to murder each other out of jealousy. There's all kinds of jokes about torture and terrorism. It's really like it doesn't quite like sink in when you're a kid. It just seems kind of normal. But watching that later on in life, you're like, wow, this is kind of edgy in some spots. That's great.
I didn't really care enough to watch it.
Oh, come on. It's good. I promise you, you will not come out of it going, man, that was a waste of time. Like if you'd watched episode 7.
Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, there was something I wanted to say about Star Wars. Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about this story a lot, but I thought I have a new interesting angle to talk about stuff from. So, you remember, I've talked about this already, but you remember my experiences going to the theater and seeing the first 2 Star Wars movies?
Yeah,
Hello?
I think so. You kind of described it.
So basically what happens when I saw both The Force Awakens and Rogue One was that I went to the movie because my family was going and they begged me to come with, and I knew that I didn't want to, but I came anyway because I was polite. And then I went through both the movies and thought, well, that was a waste of my time. And
Why
then
would I do that to myself?
And then on the drive home, you do this, right? You start talking about movies on the way home. The movie that you just watched on the way home, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just, as things started occurring to me, I said, like, well, what about this? I thought this was a missed opportunity, or I didn't like this about the movie, or that sort of thing. Or maybe they could have done this instead of that. You do that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, I did
even
that.
when I came out of Homecoming, I was talking about how I thought the fight scenes were really underwhelming, and he could have done more impressive stuff or stuff like that.
That sort of thing.
Know?
Even when you like a movie, that's the biggest conversation that you can have is what about this or what about that.
Yeah,
that's the conversation that you have, and I did that. I mean, I wasn't saying that I hated the movie or I disliked the movie. I thought, well, let's talk about this movie. Let's talk about the movie. So then after a while, they said, yeah, we've heard it. You don't like the movie. We've heard it. Yeah, we've heard the movie. You don't like it. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up, all that. So, yeah.
Jeez, what are they, Twitter?
Yeah, exactly. They're Twitter. So, I was told to shut up by my mom because she already knew that I didn't like the movie. But that wasn't the point of what I was trying to say. I was just trying to discuss a movie. And my point here is that maybe most people don't like to do that. Maybe people don't really like to talk about movies besides, it was good, or it was bad. That sort of thing. A lot of people don't really like to talk about movies like you or I do, and what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. There's not a ton of people that I know who really kind of tell me to, like, shut up about it if I have, like, a thing to say about a movie, like... But then again, I go to film school. Like, everyone there spends literally 8 hours every day talking about movies.
Mm-hmm.
Or even within, like, sort of our circle of friends, we do have a very analytical group, people who try to do reviews on the internet or be critics of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess I haven't been exposed to that many people who are just like, yeah, it's good. That's it.
Yeah, that's
but
a lot of my
I do think that's a
family.
thing that exists.
So maybe I had kind of an inspiration. Maybe that's why stuff like Rotten Tomatoes is popular, because it's a very simple way of saying this is good or this is bad without having to have a discussion or think about it too much.
Yeah, it's just an arbitrary number. You don't have to because good or bad is subjective. If you ask me what's a good movie, I'd have to just I don't know, I'd have to be able to tell you why I think it's good and what standards it meets that makes it good.
I mean, I just thought about that because the other day, I mean, I was asking I saw this new movie. What did you think about it? And then I try to make a statement about it, and then people are just like, yeah, well, was it good or not? And I said, well, I was just talking about it.
Just talking about it. It can be good, but still have things wrong with it.
Do I really need to clarify whether it's good or not when we're talking about it? Or do you just want to hear whether it's good or not and not really talk about it?
Yeah, that's fair. I get where you're coming from with that.
Oops.
What?
Nothing.
Are you drinking your coffee cup that says tears on the side?
Mm-mm. I haven't gotten that yet. I ordered it off Amazon, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, okay. You want to be even more incendiary? Just have, like... Just have a picture of a moon on the side of it with a big no symbol over that, like the circle with a cross through it.
I don't want to be that incendiary because I want the people who disagreed with me to actually watch the video and think about this. So if I'm too incendiary, they're just going to click out of it.
That's true.
So speaking of which,
I think a lot of people, and this is like a really shitty practice, I think if you disagree with the very basic idea of a video, like if someone says that a game you like isn't good, then you go to it and you don't even listen past the first sentence. You hear them say one thing and then you make a complaint and say their voice is terrible or they look dumb or whatever, and then you hit dislike and then you click off the video without ever actually listening to what they had to say.
Yep.
If you do that, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're kind of a shitty person.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're very close-minded and are not willing to give people a chance to explain things. And I can guarantee you that a lot of people did that with my Arkham Knight review. They just said, wait a minute, someone's not praising this universally praised game for the first time ever? Well, fuck that guy. Dislike. Your voice is annoying. And I actually reply to some of them. I go, hey, did you actually watch the video? And he goes, no, I just knew the title pissed me off. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That even happened with the Deadpool video. People just go, well, you just don't get Deadpool. You hate the character. It's like, if you watch the video, I talk about how much I love the character.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Just watch the video before you dislike it or tell the person that they're an asshole, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can we all agree on that?
Yep.
So, everyone give David a chance. He's working on a new video.
Yeah, I've been working on the script for a vlog where I talk about what I tweeted about in a more measured way, I'd like to say. But it's not so much about...
the sad thing is that you tweeted that, like, days out before there was an extension on the limit of text and you could explain what you meant a little bit better.
Yep.
You had to give that... you had to get this very gigantic idea and point about, like, nerd culture and, like, corporate products and all this. You had to get that across in 140 characters. If you'd waited, like, another 2 days, you'd have had 280.
Yep.
And maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't have turned out the way it did.
Well, my point is that I'm trying to make a video that's more, not so much a response to what people said, but more of a clarification of what I was trying to say so that we can have a discussion about the real point of the video, which is, or what I was saying, which isn't specifically a condemnation of a particular organization, but more of a commentary on nerd culture in general, which I think is a lot more of an interesting topic than saying, this company sucks.
Yeah.
We've got enough of those. And besides, there are much worse companies than the company that I specifically talked about. I was just using that as a more general example because it was a response of what the person was tweeting about, and it's the most accessible example to the audience that I have.
Fair. And, I think a lot of the thing that was most upsetting is that even though you meant it as a sort of example of an idea, you kind of just... The way it was stated sounded more like a fact than an opinion, and everyone was like... Everyone was kind of set off by the fact that it sounded almost a little bit slanderous, I
mean, that's not my intention, but I understand why people perceive that from what I'm saying.
Yes.
I mean,
okay.
I tend to engage in hyperbole a lot to try and prove a point, and when people see the hyperbole, they tend to respond to it as if I'm saying that literally instead of as an exaggeration.
I think it's important not to try to exaggerate through text because people can't tell. It just looks the way it looks when you read it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier when it's in a video because then it's a spoken word thing, and when you people can hear sarcasm or people can hear when you're being silly and making exaggerations. But when you just type it out and it just comes across like completely different. It gets distorted by the limitations of the format,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but that's kind of what Twitter is. It's just sort of a format where you're encouraged to be very to not really be very articulate, be very short and witty. And oftentimes when I'm trying to come up with a sound bite for Twitter, I tend to be a little bit more engage in hyperbole and be a little bit more black and white than I would when I'm actually talking to somebody.
Yeah, if it was like a post on like Facebook or something, it would not be that short and abrupt.
It's just the medium that you have to interact with.
Yes. On any other platform, it would probably be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So.
But it's the platform that we've chosen, the platform that people use.
I know people have fan pages or like their own pages and stuff on Facebook. I do not see any of those like really ever thriving anymore. Like, I don't think anyone even likes Facebook at this point.
I'm not gonna do that. I mean, I dislike Facebook for a number of reasons.
Like how it's like run by a creepy evil corporation that tracks your browser history just so they can give you the right ads.
Yeah, it's super creepy. I don't like Facebook. I don't like its user interface. I hate scrolling through the news feed. I mean, I only have it for Messenger anymore.
I think people are just generally really defensive if there's any chance that their porn searches might become public. That's the reason everyone was freaked out by the NSA. It's the reason why everyone didn't like when the Xbox One had a camera on it that wasn't ever turning off, didn't have a shutter to close, and was always watching and was always connected to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
People are very concerned when you can find out what they're masturbating to and when they're masturbating and what it looks like when they're masturbating. I think that's the last bastion of freedom in this country. Is there's not a lot of privacy anymore. But people don't want it to. They don't want pictures of them masturbating everywhere.
That's true.
So that's why the NSA needs to chill out and stop trying to masturbate to everybody else masturbating.
That's what they do. That's what they do all day.
Yeah, it's just like a cubicle, like an office with like 500 cubicles, and it's just nothing but people sitting in offices, just watching webcam feeds, just going at it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to walk in there with socks or barefoot. You have to have like very seal. It's basically like a hazmat suit zone. After a few years, just the worst.
But hey, you get good retirement benefits.
Yeah. Working in what is a call, like there's the Pentagon, and then within the Pentagon there's this giant room called the Masturbatorium, and that's where the NSA works. And the guy who cleans that makes like 8 figures. Boy, I sure went on a tangent that time. I apologize, everyone.
Well, I think that people should guess that this is what you're gonna do at this point. This is what you do on this podcast all the time. You ask if you're a lesbian. You talk about this. And then by comparison, me reading Sonic fanfiction is not nearly as bad.
Why does everyone hate you so much for reading Sonic fanfiction when I do stuff like that?
Exactly.
I feel like we give a lot of people a lot of fodder to animate from if we ever get big enough for people to start like consistently trying to do animations based on this show.
Yep. Speaking of which, I saw a pretty cool animation of Red Letter Media's prank called Dan Wilson. That's a pretty good one.
Was it by Plague of Gripes?
It might have been.
I think I actually follow that guy quite a bit. He does a bunch of animations for another channel I like called Two Best Friends Play.
Yes, it is. It's Plague of Gripes. Dan Wilson.
That guy's
Dog
awesome.
Twitter.
Yeah, definitely follow him on Twitter. He's hilarious. Talks a lot about video game stuff, but It's usually really funny stuff like him just absolutely bashing on Sonic, or he actually complains about Star Wars quite a bit. So,
yep. Also, compared to other I found another channel that reads fan fiction. This guy called Bren Daniel has like a radio voice, and he reads fan fiction. And oh boy, he read a certain Gravity Falls fan fiction, and I watched the video, and compared to that, what we read is very mild.
Oh Lord.
Should I tell you what's in this particular Gravity Falls fan fiction?
Sure.
Are you sure?
I guess. I don't consider myself a squeamish person.
Oh boy. One of the characters. Well, I'm not gonna. Let's see. Let's say it involves diarrhea from eating tacos.
Okay. Yeah, that happens.
Extreme masturbation.
Like, what do you mean extreme? Like to the point of like bleeding? Like taking it too far?
Let's just say that the character releases a very large amount.
Okay.
And then it mixes with the diarrhea.
Oh God.
In a bathroom.
Oh Jesus.
And then he starts bleeding out of his you-know-what, and he dies.
Oh God.
And then his sister comes in to the bathroom and has a wonderful time with the corpse.
Good Lord.
And then she's murdered by the taco store owner.
What?
And then and then he basically takes everything that's in the room, both of their bodies and all of the biological material released, and grinds it up into tacos to serve to other people.
Damn.
It's so gross.
So is that just like a normal Gravity Falls episode, or?
This is a Disney show. What do you think?
Well, it's a Disney show that's very closely associated with Rick and Morty to the point of actually being in the same universe.
Well, it's not. It's so.
Did you know that? Did you know that Rick and Morty and Gravity Falls have crossovers, like really tiny ones?
I don't care. I don't watch Gravity Falls.
Oh, okay.
But that was like awful fan fiction to the point where I was like, ugh. It genuinely made me
there's a point
pretty.
where it's just like so grotesque that it becomes just kind of like you get numb to it. And you're
it generally made me kind of nauseated. It was really grotesque.
Didn't that same guy also read the entire B-movie script in one video?
I think he might have.
What a legend.
Yeah. So, let's just say that when I pick fan fiction to read, I do have standards. Look, like, I'm gonna read a silly fan fiction about Sonic that has really bad writing. But I'm not gonna read a Harry Potter fan fiction where it's just everybody having sex all the time, because what's the joke there?
Yeah. It's not funny. It's just...
What's funny about it? And I'm not gonna read something that's too gross or too explicit. I have standards.
You heard it here first, folks. David is he's very specific about his erotic fan fiction. He has some standards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got really mad at our mutual friend Jackson. He's been in a couple of my videos before. He was in the Let's Ignore series.
And you can hear him off screen in the Spider-Man PS4 E3 reaction.
Oh yeah, he was in that too. Sort of.
You can hear him off screen.
I got really mad at him a couple of years ago because, as everyone knows, I've been working on that novel, and around the time I had like my second completed draft done, I was trying to get him to read it, and he's like, I don't know, I'm just not really that into reading books. But he would still spend hours and hours a day reading erotic Mass Effect fan fiction for some reason.
Ugh.
And he didn't even like it. It was mostly just like the character that he liked most just getting like molested several times in different ways. And he would just send it to me going, okay, I can't read this anymore. Do you want to try? And I'm like, no. Hey, you got like 30 chapters into this before you quit. Why don't you read my fucking book? It's only 200 pages.
Mass Effect erotica? Ugh.
Yeah.
That's gross.
My book was 200 pages. And he wouldn't read it. He was too busy reading porn about Tali from Mass Effect.
Oh, you want to speak about reading? The other day I texted my mom and asked her to send me my copy of 1984 so I can read it again.
Yeah.
You read 1984 in high school, right?
Yep.
Did you like it?
It was alright.
I just wanted to read it again because I think everybody misunderstands 1984.
Oh, in what way?
You know all those idiots online who say, oh, look, people have faith-based on college, it's Orwell's nightmare. People don't really understand what he meant by 1984 and all that.
Where he was talking about the government having too much control and everyone blindly agreeing with everything that is told to them, like having no ability to think for themselves and just becoming basically like unthinking robots.
Yeah. I mean, it's more about the power of words and how that relates to government and all that stuff. And it's kind of funny that a lot of right-wing people especially say, oh, look, George Orwell saw it all coming, the power of expanded government and all that stuff, when really George Orwell was a socialist. I mean, granted, he wasn't too kind to what the Soviets were doing, but he saw that as a perversion of the socialist ideal, rather than socialism as its natural form.
Okay.
And that was a big theme, and especially in Animal Farm, the betrayal of the ideals of the revolution by the leaders of it.
So it's a very anti-socialist, pro-socialist novel.
Yes.
It's the socialist.
Pro-socialist, anti-communist.
Yeah, there you go. I think the reason everyone tries to apply the 1984 criticism to things that's going on is...
Well, it's because it's iconic. People know what you're talking about when you're talking about 1984. So when you're referencing 1984, when you're talking about somebody doing something that you disagree with, then not only will people get what you're saying, then you can seem smart while doing it.
Yeah, no, you're making a literary reference that's not, like, so obscure that everyone's going to go, what the hell is that guy talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It's just mainstream enough that everyone will go, oh, dude, what he said was really deep.
Exactly.
So, yeah, if you're constantly calling things Orwellian, you're kind of a dumbass.
Yeah, stop
because,
doing
like,
it.
9 times out of 10, you're not right about what it is. Like the NSA spying on people through whatever random social media stuff. Mm-hmm. That's Orwellian. That's the government.
Yeah, that's a fair use of it.
It's exactly a scene from like there's a TV that watches you in everyone's apartment in that book.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly that. When it's a bunch of people whining and complaining on social media about how much they don't like the president, that's kind of like the whole opposite of 1984.
I mean, yeah.
Because everyone doesn't like the government.
Mm-hmm. Or when people are, or when people say, like, oh, look, the colleges are giving people safe spaces and they're having trigger warnings. It's so Orwellian. I mean, first of all, I think that the whole people being angry against trigger warnings is a little bit hypocritical, because often those same people complain about movies when they're too violent, and if you're okay with the MPAA judging movies, then you should be okay with this, because it's basically the same idea.
Yeah. You can't say that you can't say that
we
people
need to
are
save
bad
the
for
kids
having...
from having all these. We
Yeah.
need to save the kids from experiencing strange ideas.
Oh,
Once
no,
they go into
violent
college, it's
video
okay. They
games,
need.
those
They
are
just.
terrible. We have to protect the children from
We have
the
to
Call
protect
of
the
Duty.
children, but the college students need to be confronted, but only with the ideas that we like. Of course, that's what people say.
I think what we should take away from this is that everyone needs to shut up and stop being a whiny baby.
And maybe
Violent
read.
video games don't cause terrible things. You know, society is not taking a dive because people cuss slightly more in movies than they did 10 years ago. You know, at the same time, if someone says a sentence you don't like in a college lecture, you can't start crying and fidgeting in your chair and then run out of the room spazzing because someone said, like, the R word. Like, just chill out, everyone. Get some thicker skin. Take on the world one day at a time, and
maybe part of the problem with that whole stuff in college is that people aren't exposed to different ideas and different points of view earlier on, including with the type of with the what damage the rating system does. So,
yeah,
maybe you're part of the problem as well.
Yes. So
do you want to... I think we're about 1 hour, 8 minutes into this, so I think we can have one more conversation topic, and then we'll wrap it up. Sound good to you?
I actually think I need to head out to the store to go get something right now.
Okay. I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about that Twitter thing briefly before we go, or...
Which Twitter thing?
The Twitter thing.
Oh, the Twitter thing?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows what it is.
Yeah. I mean, all I'll say is that, I mean, kind of what I said was a little bit incendiary, but also, you guys went a little bit overboard with it, and you kind of missed the point.
Yeah, well, I've talked to what I believe to be all guilty parties, yourself included, and
what was the... Tell me what the other side said.
They were very upset at the way you stated it, as if though it was a fact and not an opinion.
Well, that's the way I talk about things. The way I look at it is that when I'm saying something like Star Wars is bad, or this company is only in it for money, then it is by definition an opinion, and you should know that. That's a big pet peeve that I have, is that people have this big thing that they say that I should say, but it's my opinion. It's only my opinion, in my opinion. It's already implied by the very statement that it's an opinion, because this statement cannot be proven. So it's already implied that it's an opinion. You just want me to repeat myself and say it's an opinion, it's an opinion, it's an opinion, it's an opinion. You should already know this. This is a realm of discourse that we're having when we're talking about movies in this manner. It is by definition an opinion.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
I'm still here. I'm just listening.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think
when I'm
there's...
saying a movie is bad,
It's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. And
I mean,
sometimes that...
It's just the way that I approach it, is that the way I think about these things is that I think that it's already implied that it's an opinion, and that people should be aware of that when we're talking about these things. I mean, when other people say, oh, this game is going to be amazing, this Spider-Man game is going to be great, these developers are awesome, those are opinions too. And they don't frame it as opinions either. So they want me to frame my opinion as an opinion, but they don't do it either.
I guess. I don't know. I think that's, again, part of the bigger discussion you want to have with these fellas.
Well, this isn't a bigger part of the discussion that I want to have with these fellas, because I'm not even talking about the nature of opinions in my script. I'm not even talking about whether these things are good or not. I mean, you've read my script. I'm working on a new version, but I'm about 70% set with this script, and I want to just make some changes. So It's not really about opinions, but this is a pet peeve that I have with things in general. Because, a lot of people have told me this, that, oh, you talk about things as if they're facts, blah, blah, blah. Of course I'm not. They're opinions. It's just that I'm not beating around the bush about whether I think this way or not. I'm just being very direct. That's the way I think about it, is that I'm just being very direct, very plain with this, and I don't like it when people aren't. I want to know what you think so that you and I can have a discussion about it. And another thing that people need to have, well, this does kind of tie into what I'm talking about, is that what was I trying to say? I lost my train of thought. Is that
I think maybe we can pick this up later after the videos come out.
I lost my train of thought. I want to see if I can recover it. So give me a moment.
All right.
Let's think so. Oh yes, you are not your opinions. When I'm challenging something that you think or something that you say, I'm not challenging you, unless I say that I'm insulting you or I'm challenging you as a person. Then I'm not. If I'm saying that maybe this idea that you're thinking about, that's dumb, I'm not saying you're dumb. And people need to have a separation between their opinions and their identity, because, the way that I like to think about it is that opinions are stuff that you carry around with you in your pocket. They aren't you. And this does tie into what I'm saying in my script, because what you like, what you consume, isn't you. They're basically the same thing, but, when you have an opinion, it can change.
Yes.
People change political parties. When they grow up, people have, people start, maybe they really like this one type of soda, and they change that. And that doesn't mean that you're not you anymore. It's just that you've changed your opinions. You've changed your taste.
Yeah.
You are not your opinions. So when I'm saying maybe this thing that you think might not be true, I'm not saying anything bad about you. It's just that I'm saying something about this thing. And a lot of people don't forget that distinction. I was talking about how I didn't like Star Wars one time in the car in an extended drive. Because,
Yes.
road trips, all that. And my brother, granted, I was being a bit belligerent about it, but my brother did get into tears because he thought I was insulting him when I was saying that I didn't like Star Wars, or that Star Wars really isn't that good.
Jesus.
Granted, I wasn't being the nicest person about it, because my brother and I tend to have a very confrontational relationship sometimes, and we definitely did as kids. It's gotten less bad.
Yeah.
But I won't say... Basically what I'm saying is that I wasn't being the nicest person about it, but even with that in mind, that shouldn't... I'm not insulting him. I'm not talking about him. I'm not talking about my brother. I'm talking about Star Wars. And unless my brother worked on the Star Wars movies, which I happen to know that he didn't because he wasn't born yet, what should that matter? He can like those movies still, and he can ignore what I'm saying and think that I'm full of crap, and he can still like them. So what's the big deal?
Exactly. You don't have to necessarily just engage back if someone says something. Like when I was trying to describe this situation to people, and kind of take down some of the bile, I gave them the example of when Peter Parker hears J. Jonah Jameson just constantly railing on Spider-Man and saying really horrible, untrue stuff about him. Does he use his superpowers to go explode his head? Or does he just shrug and go, well, I know he's wrong, and then go about his day because he's an adult?
Yeah. There's been some people here who've been said some really weird things, and I've just decided, well, I could try and argue with them and say that they're wrong, but am I really going to change their mind?
Yeah. Wait, at your school, people said some stuff that you aren't sure about?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into it because I think that you're going to want to wrap this up, but let's just say that just because you go into college and you're studying at a higher level doesn't mean that the people around you aren't any less stupid than they were in high school. I mean, I know that I'm just as stupid as I was in high school, maybe even dumber because I don't have anybody around my family to keep me honest. So, yeah, let's just leave it at that. People are dumb, and that includes me.
Yes, everyone is dumb. That's the lesson of the day.
Everyone is dumb, and when you say dumb,
everyone has AIDS. Anyway.
Yep.
So, I think that's about my cue to head out. Is that noise upstairs? So I'll be. I had a great time talking with you today.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to next time as always, and keep working on that video.
Yep. I am editing Couch Potatoes RoboCop just as a little a PSA. I'm finishing the latest Couch Potatoes before that other thing comes out. I'm almost halfway done with it. And the point is that if I pick up another video, work on that, and then come back to this, it's never going to get done. So I'm going to finish up RoboCop, and then I'm going to work on this new thing. And stay tuned. I will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.